I came across an article the other day in Time, and I thought we should talk about this because it's about jealousy. Now, typically when you see an article about jealousy, you figure there's a personal story attached to it. This one takes a bit of a different tact. The headline says, well, I think everything you need to know. Jealousy is not a moral failure. Meehika Barua is a freelance writer and columnist for Time who penned this piece, and she is on the line. First of all, thank you for being here. And secondly, I want to begin with your first sentence, which is, jealousy may be the most condemned emotion in modern life. Why is it not a moral failure?
Firstly, thank you for having me. And so I think jealousy is a very human emotion, just like a lot of human emotions, which are uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean it needs to be morally banished. And I think, as I said before, with the notion that comes with jealousy and the way its reputation precedes itself, a lot of people don't allow themselves to feel jealousy because they think, oh, I must be a bad person, or, oh, I might not have a good character if I'm jealous. But I think jealousy is simply just looking at something and wishing you had it too, and that's not a bad thing.
You know, I wonder too, because you're right about it, and I think we all understand, we're living in an era right now of social media, which to me, you know, given what you're exposed to constantly every day, other people's, wealth and success, this seems to ratchet up jealousy even more perhaps than it's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think it's a mirror to your desires. Sometimes it could be anger, being like, wow, how does this person have something that I deeply desire and I can't have it? Sometimes it's grief, like if you want something really badly, whether that's marriage or something else, looking at someone else's engagement or their pregnancy news can just trigger you and spiral you into grief because you want that thing so badly. So oftentimes I think jealousy is the starting point of a human emotion, but underneath it is something quite sincere, I would say.
But at the same time, you're denying jealousy, right? It doesn't make it go away.
Yeah, it doesn't make it go away, but I think understanding why you're feeling that way will help you either feel motivated to get that thing, or it'll help you at least to be more in tune with whatever your desire is. But it doesn't mean that, you're a bad person for feeling that way.
Okay. Then you also draw a line. I think a lot of people will find this interesting. You draw a line or a distinction between jealousy and envy. How are they different?
Well, jealousy usually would be something like, let's say you're in a relationship or you're dating someone and you see your partner talking to a very attractive person, and you would feel jealousy, but in reality, that's fear that, oh, I might be replaced, or, like this person might take away my partner, which is a very valid fear. Again, there's nothing wrong with having that fear, whereas envy is more like, let's say you look at someone on a holiday or like a very luxury vacation, and it's more, I wouldn't say sinister, but it's more like, I want to have that and I want to take it away from you. I don't want you to have that. I want to take away that luxury vacation from you and replace you and be there. So yeah, usually there is a clear distinction between envy and jealousy. But again, I think jealousy is more about fear, whereas envy is more rooted in, I would say, more malicious intent or maybe anger.
Okay, I will point out, by the way, I started the interview by saying, we talk about ourselves personally. We look at times when we were jealous. You are not, of course, one of those people who did not have to deal with this, and you point that out in the article, right? You punished yourself whenever you felt jealous.
Yes, I mean, for a long time, I definitely thought something must be really wrong with me if I'm jealous so easily. But then again, I think it also depends so much on your upbringing and your early experiences. Like, for example, my parents, I think, used jealousy to motivate me or kind of like get the result that they wanted, which was by social comparison with other kids. So in my case, I am so easily jealous by anything and everything. And rather than suppressing it for a really long time and then it would just manifest in other negative ways, I just embraced it and I started looking inward about what my desires are.
So interesting. So you dealt with it. Can we say that at some point when you begin to do that or you've mastered that technique, it's over? You don't deal with it anymore? It doesn't become an issue anymore? Or is it always there?
I mean, jealousy is something that's always there, but now I can look deeper into
Right.
my emotions and can understand where it's coming from. Why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
And oftentimes, as I said, it's not just jealousy. What's underneath it is either sadness, grief, or anger, or something else.
There's also a great quote in here. It says, humans are comparing creatures. We can't help but compare ourselves to each other. So if you accept that fact, right, this is just going to happen. The fact that you get jealous is not something that you should necessarily think is a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the quote I got from this amazing psychologist. His name is Jack Worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he said, that we are, as humans, comparing creatures, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think there's something about, how we have been primed for centuries. In early days, men would compete, women would compete against each other and compare themselves, and, how mating used to work and all of these things. So that's so ingrained in our biological nature that it's not something that you can get rid of. Like one day you start going to, let's say, church or therapy and you're not a jealous person anymore, or like you'll never feel jealousy, is an unattainable standard to hold yourself to.
There's a great line as well. You say, what tends to damage relationships is not jealousy itself, but the inability to acknowledge it honestly. How do you do that?
Personally, I am very honest and vocal about it. And the more I have been, I think it's been reciprocated. Like, if I'm jealous about something, I can now actually very openly admit that, oh, I'm actually so jealous of your job, or, oh, I'm actually so jealous of XYZ, whatever it is that you have. And I've had that reciprocated to me as well. And I think that creates such a level of intimacy and humanness in my interactions that it's not passive aggressive, it's not negative. Like, I am jealous of what you have, and that's the truth. And, it's also a compliment that you have something that is worthy of being jealous of. Whereas in the past, whenever I have suppressed that jealousy, or I've noticed like people around me suppress that jealousy, it's always manifested in something negative, which is either being a bit passive aggressive or like holding enthusiasm for someone else's success and not congratulating them, or just being a bit bitter. And yeah, I just think there's just so much more freedom in accepting and being open about jealousy.
I will just leave it with the last line, which I think is so telling. The problem is not that we compare ourselves to one another. Humans always have. The problem is we insist on pretending we don't.
Yeah, I think we're being very performative if we just put ourselves to that unrealistic standard. It's just, trying to be someone you are not and probably will never achieve to be.
It's okay to be that way, bottom line. Meehika, I want to thank you so much for the time. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
An iHeartRadio experience.
Jelly Roll, live in Quebec City at Festival d'été de Quebec.
Presented by Bell in collaboration with Coors Light.
You ain't nothing but a liar.
You could win VIP tickets for two for July 19th.
With flights, hotel,
and $1,000 cash.
I'm wide awake and I'm dreaming.
Download the iHeartRadio app.
Listen to Pure Country for 10 minutes and enter to win.
Jelly Roll, live.
At FEQ.
I know.
Every day you listen is another chance to win.